Hey everyone, it's Marshall Malone. It's day 36 of 66, breaking up with sugar and refined carbs. It's been a really long time since I've published an update. The last time I published one was on day 20, I believe. I have recorded updates, I just haven't been putting them out. It's day 22. I've been seeing the weight drop pretty much consistently every day, either half a pound or a pound. I messed up last night. Besides the fact that I messed up, I feel okay. My weight is continually dropping, so that's kind of a good indicator that even though I screwed up, it's not the end of the world. I think I'd feel a lot differently if I saw 5 pounds on the scale added, overnight, which has happened to me in the past when I've really gone loco with food. But I think those are the instances where I'd be up at midnight eating like a sleeve of Oreos or 2 sleeves, like an entire container. I'm kind of looking at, okay, well, I still have a problem that I have to work on. Like, I'm still eating at midnight occasionally. This has happened twice now in the 22 days. So it's not good to do that. Am I failing at this? I don't think that I am, because I'm looking at the bigger picture, constantly having to remind myself, look, you've done really good. I've said in the past videos that something's bothered me, and it's definitely what's going on. I'm struggling with some things that I'm still trying to work on, and I think that's it. So anyways, I will make an update later. It's day 23 of 66 of breaking up with sugar and refined carbs. I woke up this morning in a pretty bad mood. Part of the reason I felt like shit this morning is I had a dream last night. I guess in my situation it'd be a nightmare, but I dreamt that I ate a bunch of Reese's peanut butter cups and pizza, like a large, I can't even put into words how big this pizza was. And in my dream, I remember, 1, tasting it. It felt like I was really eating it. And 2, the guilt afterwards I felt in my dream. When I woke up after that dream, I immediately felt so relieved, like, oh, that was just a dream that didn't really happen. It is just so hard to process. It's so hard to explain how it felt. It was weird. So I'm very grateful that it was just a dream. But again, that shame and that guilt is something I need to figure out, because I shouldn't feel that way if I do have those things. I think I'm just very committed to this new relationship that I'm trying to build with food. And if I think about it like a relationship, I can't cheat. I can't have those little treats that stray away from the type of relationship I'm trying to have with food. That dream just really put me in a bad mood. However, I was able to get myself out of it. I got to a point where I was about a mile away from my house. So I decided to run back home. I didn't push myself very hard. I just went at a pace that I felt I could keep up with aerobically. That didn't cause me to go out of breath, because I didn't eat anything before I ran, and I didn't actually drink any water when I woke up, which is not typical. I felt really good. I ran the mile in about 9 minutes and 20 seconds, and my boundary to know when to stop is if my shin splints start acting up, and I didn't feel much pain in my shins. Or 3/4 into the mile, I started feeling a little bit of pain, but not to the point where I felt I needed to stop. And so I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that, because I haven't ran in a couple years. The last time I ran, I actually committed to this program, and then about 2 or 3 weeks into it of running 3 or 4 times a week, I had to stop because of shin splints. And I could, no amount of stretching was stopping that from happening. So I'm hoping that I can get back to it slowly. But like I said, the number one goal is just continuing this new relationship with sugar and carbs. As for that, I'm feeling pretty good, feeling in control. I don't feel like I'm craving, but I have, oddly, yesterday felt a lot of cravings. Day 28, I think, of 66 of breaking up with sugar. I have been very sick the last 3 days with a sinus infection that caused a really high fever for about 3 days. The fever kind of subsided today. I'm still having these hangover type effects, basically, of my body fighting off this infection. Just in a lot of pain right now. I have not been able to eat much at all the last few days. And I have a confession that I did eat sugar one day. I just couldn't stomach anything, but somebody made banana muffins, which have sugar in them from the banana, but also chocolate chips on top. And I saw them and hadn't eaten anything in a day, and I just grabbed one. But
I'm not beating myself up for it because I didn't go back and eat like 5 of them like I normally would have.
So yeah, I was really sick for about 5 days. I thought it was COVID. It felt like COVID, but I tested negative twice. So apparently it wasn't COVID. I feel better now. If that was COVID, then that would have been the 3rd time I've had COVID since the pandemic started. So I'm well versed in COVID. But anyways, I'm about 30 days away from achieving my goal, but today I slipped up. So I started making tea at home, just nothing fancy, just plain Louisiana green tea. I decided to put some stevia in it. I've been split on stevia since before I started this, and actually one of the things that was really difficult to give up at the beginning of this was a product called Zevia, which is stevia sweetened carbonated beverages that are mimicking soda. They use non-GMO natural flavors as far as I'm aware of. So it seemed like a pretty safe product, but ultimately the idea behind using sweeteners is that it's a gateway back to sugar. I've avoided them as much as I possibly can, but recently when I was making the tea, I was like, I'll throw a packet of stevia in half a gallon of tea. Doesn't even really need to be in there, but I just did it. The brand that I have in stock in my house is called Stevia in the Raw. In the past, I've used things like monk fruit and other safer alternatives to sugar. But the bottom line is a lot of these are cut with chemicals that sometimes aren't even listed. Food manufacturers are not required to list ingredients that they use less than half a gram. So when you buy stevia and it comes out as a white powder, it's being cut and bleached and processed. So you're getting processed versions of stevia. Stevia is a plant, so it should come out green if you're getting it with the least amount of processing. The thing about stevia in the raw is it's not only stevia, but it also has maltodextrin or dextrose, which is extremely high on the glycemic index. I think it's 110. So that pissed me off. In my opinion, the FDA is responsible for this epidemic of obesity, this epidemic of addiction to food, because they're using and cutting and processing foods with these addictive chemicals that we don't even have like enough studies to know whether or not they're safe for consumption. They're just testing the population as we go. If you look around the United States, the obesity epidemic is through the roof. I mean, I'm obese. I'm 275 pounds. I will say one positive before I go off into a conspiracy theorist rant is that I've lost 30 pounds since I started. So in day 36, I weighed in at 275. I've been weighing 275 for the past few days. My goal before I hit 40 is to get down to 260. So I've got 15 pounds to lose in the next 30 days. I think I can do it. I'm just gonna go a little harder. I've been running. I had my mile down to like 9 minutes and 11 seconds on 9/11, actually, ironically. I was pacing for a lot faster than that, but I ended up slowing down towards the last quarter of the mile. I'm trying to get into pickleball and play some pickleball and learn that sport because it just seems like a lot of fun, and just playing basketball whenever I can. I'm not really ready to jump back into full court yet, but eventually I will. So anyways, I'm glad I derailed that rant about the food industry because I don't want to bore anybody, but it really is frustrating when you think you're doing something good for your body and you end up screwing up your plan. It's like, I'm trying to think of this whole thing as building a new relationship with food. And so when you think about a relationship, at the beginning of this, you take a vow to end your relationship with sugar, your bad relationship with sugar, your bad relationship with refined carbs. And I feel like I'm 90% of the way there, but I keep getting knocked off by little things like this because it ultimately comes down to my responsibility of checking the labels every time and researching everything that I'm putting in my body and not just saying, oh, it's stevia in the raw, it's good for me, it's fine. Really avoiding sweeteners at all costs. I could have just put lemon in the tea and it would have been fine. And that's what I'm going to do going forward. Just squeezing some lemons in the tea, call it a day, put it in the fridge, and I have it there whenever I want it. So anyways, that's all I got for today. I know that a lot of people have reached out to me and are watching for these, and so I apologize for the lack of updates. I was actually supposed to be on What You're Craving podcast yesterday, but I had to reschedule, so it looks like I won't be doing another update on that podcast until post 66 days around my 40th birthday, which I think is good because I mean, there's a reason I haven't done updates because it gets a little repetitive doing the same thing every day and putting that out there. I just feel like there's not a lot of value. So these updates, whenever they come, I think are better. But the bottom line is I'm not giving up. I'm still kicking butt on this and, just trying to keep my head straight and balance everything. But anyways, I'll be back.